Here's a nice story in the corporate media. Undercutting a livable wage. Seattle's $15 minimum wage may be hurting workers, report finds. So that's the report. Who came up with this report? We don't really know. A report from the University of Washington found that when wages increased to $13 in 2016, some companies may have responded by cutting low-wage workers' hours. The study, which was funded in part by the city of Seattle, found that workers clocked 9% fewer hours on average and $125 each month after the most recent increase. If you're a low-skilled worker with one of those jobs, $125 a month is a sizable amount of money, Mark Long, a UW public policy professor and author of the report, told the Seattle Times. It can be a difference between being able to pay your rent and not being able to pay your rent. Oh, God. Lower in the story is a study that came out by the University of California, Berkeley, last week that said the law boosted workers' pay without costing jobs. Boosted restaurant workers' pay. So this is a classic example, and again, this is more bullshit corporate media. It's just that like, we're going to report, these are what the reports say, you decide. Bullshit. The title says Seattle 15 minimum wage may be hurting workers, report finds. And as you scroll through usatoday.com, you just see this. You just see this thing right there. You can't really see it because it's too bright. See that right there? Anyway, this is stupid graphics on my part. But you scroll through the page and you just see that. Oh, and so then do you read through the whole story? People just scroll, oh man, minimum wage, it hurts people. And then that just kind of see how they feed the narrative? Yeah, but then employees cut hours. So the solution, according to these dipshits at USA Today and the University of Washington, is to what? Not increase wages, hours? How about this article should be like, hold employers accountable. This is the new minimum wage. Give them a full wage. Give them enough hours to earn a livable wage. That's what the article should be saying. It should be saying, business owners are cheap assholes in Seattle, report finds. Government needs to hold cheap assholes accountable. Don't support these businesses that are cheap assholes. That's what this report should say. Instead, this is corporate speak. Corporations don't want to pay you more money for your job. They don't. If they could get you for a nickel or cheap or complete slave labor, they would. And that's what has been created in America. That's why 60% of the country can't handle a $500 emergency? This is how they do this. And then the other report, the contradictory report, says that's not in the title. That's not in the first couple of paragraphs. It's lower in the article, right? It's lower in the article. And then it also talks about a public policy professor. I don't know who this professor is. I don't know anything about him. But I do know from reading Chris Hedges' Death of the Liberal Class, that's one of the ways the corporate state has infiltrated every aspect of society and has completely overtaken the liberal elite. It used to be college campuses were where you had serious debate and you had taking care of workers. And now colleges are for elitists. You got to have $60,000, $100,000 a year or whatever to go to college. I paid $8,000 a year total, all in for a full year. Books, food, everything to go to a decent state school, right? So now public policy professors, they get money they get grants and stuff like that from companies and corporations. And this is one of the things they do. They do a study. It came from a university. Universities, that's where liberal hippies live. So if the liberal hippies at the university are saying that maybe a $15 minimum wage isn't a good thing, I don't know. $15 an hour is a big left socialist talking point. A livable wage, universal basic income is something that socialist left progressive people talk about. So this is more nonsense, this article. It just shows you what they do. And who is this public policy professor? What has he been paid? I will say this is a piece of good news. Seattle Mayor Ed Murray said he stands behind the $15 minimum wage. Raising the minimum wage helps ensure more people who live and work in Seattle can share in our city's success and helps fight income inequality, Murray said in a statement in response to the study. Across the country, many states have increased minimum wage above the federal minimum of $7.25 an hour, which has been there since 2009. Well, you can live on that for sure. Last year, California Governor Jerry Brown and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo signed legislation that will eventually raise their state's minimum wage to $15 an hour. And you know what? Hold these businesses accountable that cut people's hours. You know, you could come up with some sort of workers' contract. Or you know what? Low-wage people, unionize. Start to form a union, because this is what happened at the turn of the last century. The oil barons and the railroad people, they had just, slavery ended in the 1860s, and then they spent, the next 30, 40 years figuring out how to create another slave class, either through arresting black men for bullshit crimes and putting them on chain gangs, or just making workers basically barely paid slaves. And if they can get away with this, they will. The corporate state does not care about the greater good. They do not care. So you have to stop assuming that corporations are going to do the right thing. You have to hold them accountable. And one way you, individuals that watch the show, can hold them accountable. If you live in Seattle, find out the companies that are doing this. Find out the businesses that are doing this. And write fucking Yelp, write a 1-star Yelp review. Hey, they don't pay their workers enough. When they were forced to pay their workers a good wage of $13 an hour, they started cutting back their hours. Don't shop here. Don't go to this restaurant. Find out. If you're one of these people, make it public. Use social media to say this business, they don't support people. They fuck over their workers. They're such penny-pinching assholes. They're making this much profit, and they won't even give a taste of that to their employees who built their business. I run businesses. Without good employees, you businesses don't run. They don't happen. So being greedy and selfish and stupid, all it does is make for unhappy workers. Which, you ever been into a restaurant or a store or something, and all the employees really treat you well? I can almost guarantee you they're well taken care of. When you go into a store or restaurant, they're like, I don't know. It's probably because they're paid shit. They don't want to be there. Their boss treats them like an asshole. More than likely. So, and this is how the corporate media spins it. The corporate media wants you to believe that $15 minimum wage may be hurting workers. That's their title. Really? $15 an hour is hurting workers? Report fines. It's just a report. We just report it. We're usatoday.com. I don't know. This is what the report said. Who funded the fucking report? Walmart, when Hillary Clinton was the goddamn CEO. Remember when she was on the, not the CEO, but on the board of Walmart? She was against $15 an hour. They'll come up with these kind of reports to say it's bullshit. $15 an hour has to be the national minimum. That's the minimum you should pay somebody, is $15 an hour. And you don't cut their hours. I get it if a company's struggling to stay afloat and they got to cut people. But if you're making a profit, pay your goddamn employees. Thanks for supporting the show. Patreon link is below. Like and subscribe.